Um,
Brutal.
yeah. Speaking of my sorority sister, oh, did you hear? Go,
Yeah.
go no. It's crazy, man.
Yeah, that, like, I was just like, what?
Yeah, I just like.
I
Are
feel
you?
like that's super unfair, like, because sororities have so many rules, like, in comparison to the frats. Like, I don't know how it works.
I can tell
Because,
you the whole story if you want me to. It won't take long. It's not like a long story,
okay,
but like
yeah.
so basically, it's not like an isolated event. We've had some trouble for like years because
Okay.
I'd be interested to hear like what like your northern chapters and everything how they do things, but like
Hmm.
I'm not gonna say the stereotypes are true, but I'm gonna say that we have like the reputation we have for like for a reason. We go pretty hard. Sororities don't, and, like by no means like.
You mean, like, frats or, like,
But so like we kind of lump
Greek?
ourselves together, and I don't know
Okay.
if that's just a Southern school thing, but basically we're not like we have separate councils. Like they're IFC, we're Panhellenic. Like well,
Yeah,
you guys
yeah,
are
yeah,
Panhellenic, but
yeah.
it's lumped under two. We're lumped together all the time. Um,
Yeah. Okay.
and usually if one of us gets in trouble, the other gets in a little bit of trouble too. But for the most part, the girls don't get in trouble. I mean, we have our Delta Gamma chapter was on suspension anyway, prior to.
Oh,
So like they've been punishing individual chapters when they need to be. But what
okay.
happened is, so let me just tell you about this year in general. So I'm the first incident this year, and I mean I'm not gonna waste my time telling you what good we do. Like that's usually the
Yeah,
selling point. Is
yeah,
everyone's
no,
like,
yeah.
well, like all you do is this, and like obviously that's not true. Like philanthropy is blah blah blah, but you know that, so I'm
Yeah,
gonna skip.
no.
I'm gonna skip
Yeah,
that.
I know all that. Don't worry.
Yeah, but the first incident. What happened? I mean, last year started to get a little bit bad with hazing allegations, and a chapter got
Oh,
kicked off for 6 years for
oh,
hazing, but
damn.
nothing like the pledge was fine. And then this
Hmm.
year, a particular chapter pitched a TV off the roof during a pregame and almost hit a girl, like literally almost hit her.
Oh my
So,
god.
had that hit her,
That's
she probably
crazy.
would have had serious injuries.
Holy
Um,
crap.
Obviously, like the regular problems with alcohol and drug usage. But I would argue that's just college students. But I guess if you
Yeah.
have that network, it might make it easier. That's like the argument. But most recently, there was, I guess last weekend, it all happened so fast. A pledge of the Pi Pi Kappa Phi here.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah.
yeah, Pi Kappa Phi.
I remember seeing that. I was like confused because, I mean, you probably have too, but there's like Phi Kappa Pi.
Yeah, yeah, and they all have nicknames,
I
and
was
then
like,
like the thing is, like, they're the two that are really similar, but then they have nicknames, and I don't know which match to which. So I'm like,
oh,
I
okay.
at no point in time do I know who they're talking about.
Oh my
Um,
gosh. Yeah.
but basically, like, he just drank too much, from what I understand, and then I believe most recently, I'm sure the report is now out, but last I read, I think he like asphyxiated. I think he like threw up and like in his sleep and just
Oh,
choked. So
oh
he
my
passed
god.
away, and it was like obviously a tragedy. Um, But the thing is, he was at their off campus house, I think. And the
Okay.
night before was Big Little reveal.
Hmm.
And while like, no one was making him drink, I'm sure that Big Little reveal was like a big night for their chapter.
Hmm.
I mean, I don't
Yeah.
think that would be a secret for anyone. So basically, it was a tragedy, it was an accident. And then So that had everyone kind of like, oh no, like serious
Hmm.
trouble. Obviously, with the most important, like, oh, someone lost their life, and that was a prominent thing. But also, we were just like, there's a storm coming. We got to get ready, but like, no one prepared in time, and not that we really should have even been able to. So that what they started raiding fraternity houses, like the cops, and they found in a particular chapter at our school, they busted like a cocaine ring.
Shit.
So once that coupled with like the tragedy of the lost pledge, they were like, we need to shut this the hell down. Like something has to change. And
Hmm.
then I think because we've had, at least during my like almost 3 years at FSU, several chapters have been individually punished, and I've watched some come back after suspension, and I've watched some get kicked off, and it's not
Mhm.
really obviously causing much change. And
Right.
so they were like, we've got to be more serious about that. It's kind of like the age old adage of like, the slap on the wrist. If that's all you're getting, like you're
Yeah.
gonna do it again. So they're like, we're shutting everything down. And we're on indefinite all, and that's inclusive of the multicultural sororities and fraternities,
Okay.
honors fraternities, anything with Greek letters. Yeah, that's also what we said. I was like, um, all like there are 52 organizations that this blankets,
Holy
and
crap.
we can't do anything besides eat at our house. I'm not even encouraged to like hang out there really. Like it's
Oh my
kind of just
god.
like eat, see your sisters, and like leave. um,
Damn.
we
What?
can't. I was actually supposed to be in the skit for homecoming. We can't participate in homecoming anymore. We can't
Oh my god.
participate in dance marathon. We can't participate in relay. Um, well, we can, but we have to do it individually. There's no team aspect, and that I think that's gonna hurt the fact that there's no like community sense. Because like a lot of the
Right.
time we'd fundraise like via like try to beat your sisters because you get like incentives.
Yeah.
Um, what we like I will still be involved, but like we can't at all. We can't do anything under our letters at all.
Right.
You can't go on any trips. We're in a weird limbo because like our dues encompass socials, date functions, philanthropies, and that's another thing too. Our philanthropy hadn't happened yet. It was supposed to be.
Oh.
I was actually supposed to be this coming Wednesday,
Okay.
so we don't get to do that.
Oh my
And
god.
that's kind of where we're at. So I'd be interested to see what like you think. But here's like what the president said because we were all very confused.
Yeah.
Because our president is is Greek. He is an alum. I can't recall what chapter he's in, but he's like
Like the president of the
yeah,
university?
President John
Okay.
Gasher of FSU. Is was in a fraternity. Is I guess still in a fraternity because it's for
Hmm.
life. But and we kind of like obviously reached out to him and especially us, like
Hmm.
IFC, the fraternity council. They're
Yeah.
like, we can't really fight this. Like we understand, but
Right.
we were like, okay, but we don't. I mean, we never have trouble with hazing. Like women don't. Like we make sure we don't haze. Like, so we were like, we
Yeah.
really don't understand why this is being like extended to us, because all you're really doing is our philanthropies aren't getting money,
Hmm.
whatever. And they just basically were like, it's not. It's the culture we're trying to change. And then of course we can fire back with, okay, but people outside of Greek organizations are getting it's just a mess.
What?
And the most annoying part to me is that people who aren't a part of Greek life are being the most outspoken. Like I
Yeah.
have no problem if one of my sisters voices her opinion and like it differs from mine, like I have no problem
Right.
if one of my sisters is like, "Oh, I
Well, because
definitely
like you're both
yeah,
like
like
it's
she
your issue.
knows." And she,
Yeah.
if she says like, I think it's great that we're suspended. We do need to take this time like really, bring back our priorities and like if a different sister is like, "No, I think it's dumb that we're all suspended. We're not, 10 girls don't get to participate in our like the organization we sponsor because they won't have scholarship money." And like
Oh my
I hear
god.
them, but when these people who are just like outside just who were it almost seemed like waiting for a reason to like shit on like someone on my Facebook page who is not on my Facebook page anymore because I said unfollow, but she posted like the link to the article that announced it, and that was another thing
Yeah.
too. They we weren't taught. It literally happened in an hour. He
Wow.
announced it, and then within an hour, our pages were being deleted off Facebook. We were
Oh
getting
my
text
god.
messages that was like, all of our profile pictures were like pictures promoting our philanthropy. They're like, change your profile pictures, take your letters out of your bio, and we're just like,
Oh, that's shit.
and we can't have chapter meetings. We can't do anything. And like all we got was this was last Monday night. This was last Monday,
Hmm.
and all we got was a 15-minute maximum emergency chapter meeting.
Oh
So,
my god.
and oh, here's the best part, Nicole. The way Gamify does elections, we transitioned our new exec Sunday night. This was the
It's
this was the first day that like the new exec was
Oh
writing
my
and they had to
god.
deal with this. And so our president was like texting all of us like, please just bear with me. She's like, I have no answers. No one knows what's
Oh
going on. And
my god.
like my
What
grandma
a
texted
mess.
me before I knew and said like, "Oh, I'm really sorry to hear." And I was like, "What are you sorry about?" I was like at work.
That's shit.
Anyway,
Wow. Oh my god. Like this like it's pretty different here because I think I told you about this last time, but like you guys have like a dean of Greek life, right?
we have like an entire office. So there are
Yeah.
people in charge of every single count. It's like an intricate, it's its own department essentially.
Yeah. Mhm. Yeah, see we don't have that. Like our university acknowledges the sororities as organizations, but we're not I don't know. Like yeah, like they recognize us as organizations, but we're not technically affiliated with the university, whereas the frats are not really recognized, or I don't, something like that, where it's like basically like we have more like
Leniency?
credibility, I guess,
Okay.
and then but the frats are like I don't know, like basically they can do whatever they want, and we
Honestly, same.
yeah
Which was the
yeah
problem. The guy,
like
oh, the guy in charge of like the frats here took like no accountability. Whereas like we're doing like online lessons every week just to keep up with like the standards. We're like that's another thing too is like the standards we are held to, just
oh yeah.
skyscraper comparatively.
Well, it's even like I've only been in a couple frat houses, and it's like they're disgusting. Like it's
Oh, it's
and like you
nasty.
can tell all they do is like drink and party.
Mhm.
And I mean, obviously they have like some charity things and whatever, but like that's the main thing they do, and it's like we're just so different.
That's so weird because that's
Like
exactly how it is
we
here.
can't even drink in our own house. I mean,
We
like
can't either.
obviously,
Yeah.
like we can't have a party in our own house. We can't even have men like upstairs.
Same. That's the same
Like
rule. I find it. I think it's just a misogynistic double standard, to be honest.
oh yeah,
So
yeah.
I think it's really. I honestly was not. I didn't know what I was gonna expect you to say to that, but like, I thought the esteemed men of the North would be different, but then I
No,
remembered they're still men.
no,
They're still men. So
no. I mean, like I would say like obviously I don't know for sure, but I would say I would guess it's probably more diverse because
yeah.
like I'm in
Oh,
Toronto and there's
it's embarrassingly not diverse here, and honestly, sororities too. We could definitely
yeah.
use some.
Well,
Yeah.
like I mean like Toronto as a city is just diverse in general, and like my school has a lot of international students, so it's diverse in that way. Um, but yeah, the culture is generally very similar, and like another thing like you were saying was shit, what was it? Like other people not in Greek life might be doing the same things, but they're just not like people don't hear about it because they're not like in an
Yeah.
organization
Yeah.
and it's not like organized like that.
I don't know
And
how that makes me feel. Like,
yeah, well, it's unfair honestly because it's
yeah,
like
I agree.
because sometimes because I don't drink like
Yeah.
that much. I'm not a big partier or whatever. And so I like don't really go to any parties or socials or anything. And so sometimes I'm like, man, like my sisters need to be more professional about how they
Yeah.
handle like socials and partying and everything. Like they shouldn't like take it so seriously. But then I'm like, that's just like it's not really like a reflection on my sorority slash organization necessarily, but it's like
It's a
we're
personal
all college
reflection.
aged
Yeah.
students, and like that's like the culture, and it's not like I know that if I wasn't in a sorority, I would still probably feel left out in that way
Mhm.
because like that's just what everyone does,
Yeah.
you know? So
No.
it's like
Yeah,
I don't
no,
know.
I agree completely. I think, I think it's a personal reflection and not even to speak to whether, like, what kind of reflection it is. I think it's up to you. Like, it's not
Exactly.
my place to be like, that's bad or that's great or like, it reflects me. Like, I understand, like, the sentiment of, like, you're always wearing your letters and that's something that we say,
Right.
but to an extent, I don't think so. I think,
Yeah, agreed.
like, I think, you're in your chapter for a reason and you do great things with your chapter, but,
Yeah.
like, I'm I'm involved with FPRA,